When something goes wrong on the river, there seem to be two types of people: those who have foreseen the trouble and are already taking corrective steps, and the rest of us, who are standing there with mouths agape trying to figure out what's going on.
I guess it's important to have that river sense you mentioned earlier, the ability to anticipate and handle potential problems.
Exactly. River sense is not something people are born with, it's something they develop over time. It involves perfecting skills, understanding equipment, and appreciating the forces and hazards of whitewater.
So, it's about being prepared and knowledgeable about the river.
Absolutely. It also involves evaluating other people's paddling skills, understanding group dynamics, and effective communication with fellow paddlers. Most importantly, it means being alert at all times on the river.
River sense sounds like it's all about accident prevention. Avoiding accidents should be a top priority.
You're absolutely right. Many river accidents and drownings occur due to poor planning, improper equipment, and ignorance. Take, for example, the tragic incident in 1984 when 5 rafters drowned after attempting to run a low-head dam on the Potomac River. They had no idea about the power of the deadly hydraulic at the base of the dam.
It's heartbreaking that accidents like that can be prevented. It's a shame that they sometimes lead to unnecessary regulations by well-meaning officials.
Yes, it's doubly tragic. Proper education and awareness can go a long way in preventing such accidents without resorting to overly restrictive measures.
I agree. Understanding the characteristics of whitewater rivers seems crucial in assessing their difficulty. What factors should we consider?
4 factors are key: elevation loss, volume of flow, geomorphic makeup of the riverbed, and hazards. Elevation loss refers to the vertical drop between 2 points along the river. Some rivers may have concentrated drops in certain sections, making them more challenging than their average figures suggest.
So, it's not just about the average drop, but also the distribution of elevation loss.
Exactly. The volume of flow is another important factor. It's the amount of water passing a given point in 1 second. Higher flows generally mean more challenging conditions. Rivers with narrow riverbeds, tight turns, and constrictions pose additional hazards.
I can see how the riverbed's geomorphic makeup plays a role in creating hidden hazards like undercut rocks or boulder sieves.
Precisely. And finally, the nature of the gorge through which the river flows affects the level of commitment required. Paddling through steep-walled canyons demands a higher level of seriousness compared to rivers with roads alongside.
It's a lot to consider, but it emphasizes the importance of understanding the river and its challenges before venturing out.
Absolutely. With proper knowledge, preparation, and river sense, we can have a safe and exhilarating adventure on the water. When it comes to whitewater paddling, understanding and avoiding hazards is crucial. A whitewater hazard refers to any obstacle or condition that can harm a boater.
I'm glad we're discussing this. I want to be aware of potential dangers on the river. Can you explain some of the hazards we might encounter?
Of course. Let's start with holes. They're areas where water flows in reverse due to submerged objects like ledges or boulders. While small holes can be fun to play in, larger ones can be dangerous and even deadly. They can trap and hold boats and boaters for extended periods of time.
That sounds really risky. How can we identify holes?
Well, sometimes they're not easy to see from upstream, and the backwash makes it difficult to escape without help. Smooth ledges without breaks and low-head dams are particularly hazardous. We also need to be cautious about breaking waves, as they can form holes when the tops of the waves fall back upstream.
What about eddies? I've heard about those too.
Eddies are upstream currents that form behind surface objects in the river or riverbanks. As the water flows around the object, it piles up on the upstream side, creating a reverse current. Eddy lines, which mark the boundary between the upstream and downstream currents, can be hazards themselves. In large and swift rivers, eddies can have a strong reverse current and be filled with cross-currents and whirlpools.
It's essential to understand how these eddies and eddy lines work to navigate them safely.
Absolutely. Another type of hazard is the presence of undercuts and potholes. Undercuts are large rocks narrower at the bottom than at the top, and they can trap boats or people if pushed under them by the force of the water. Undercuts often lack an upstream pillow of water at higher flows, and they may have water boiling up behind them. Potholes, smooth eroded depressions in rocks, can also pose risks. They sometimes form tunnels and increase the chances of entrapment. These hazards are especially dangerous if they're in your intended path through a rapid.
It's quite alarming to think about being trapped or pushed under these hazards. Is there anything we can do to avoid them?
The key is awareness and knowledge. Understanding what these hazards look like, how they form, and where they're located can help us navigate the river more safely. It's crucial to scout the river beforehand, assess potential risks, and make informed decisions based on our abilities and the conditions.
I appreciate your guidance, Tom. I feel more prepared now to face these whitewater hazards.
Remember, practice and experience play a significant role too. The more we paddle and learn, the better we become at identifying and avoiding hazards. Safety should always be our priority on the river. Waterfalls are another hazard that we need to be cautious about. When you see the river disappear over a definite line across the river, it indicates a significant gradient loss. While some horizon lines indicate rapids, others conceal true waterfalls. It's crucial to scout waterfalls before running them to ensure there are no debris or obstacles at the bottom.
Waterfalls sound both thrilling and dangerous. Scouting beforehand seems like a wise approach to ensure our safety.
Absolutely. Next, let's talk about entrapment. When swimming in a shallow, rocky river, one of the biggest dangers is getting trapped against the bottom by the force of the current. People unfamiliar with whitewater often try to stand on the river bottom and walk to shore, which can lead to entrapment. Feet can get caught in cracks between rocks or under undercut ledges. Escaping the force of the current becomes difficult, and the risk of drowning increases.
That's terrifying. I had no idea that trying to walk to shore could be so dangerous. I'll be sure to avoid that mistake.
It's crucial to stay calm in such situations and avoid putting ourselves at risk. Additionally, if the river has vertical or near vertical drops, swimmers can be forced into a more vertical position, increasing the chance of entrapment in boulder sieves or rock crevices at the bottom.
It's essential to be aware of these potential entrapment points, especially in steep drops. Safety should always come first.
Exactly. Moving on, let's discuss strainers. Fallen trees and accumulations of debris can create strainers, which allow water to flow through but can trap solid objects like boats or people. Strainers can completely block a narrow river and are particularly dangerous because they may not be easily visible. Even submerged tree trunks with stripped branches can pose a significant risk. We must be cautious and vigilant when navigating near strainers.
I never realized how innocent-looking hazards like strainers could be so dangerous. I'll keep a close eye out for any signs of fallen trees or debris blocking the river.
Great awareness is the key. Finally, smooth, water-worn boulders pushed down from a side creek can form boulder sieves at low water, trapping boats and people. During high water, they can create a series of dangerous hydraulics.
It's crucial to be mindful of these boulder sieves, especially when the water level is low or when encountering sudden hydraulics during high water conditions.
Absolutely, Mary.
By understanding and being aware of these hazards, we can enhance our safety and enjoy our whitewater adventure to the fullest.
In mountainous regions, paddlers need to be prepared for glacial lake outburst floods, or GLOFs. These occur when a glacier or rock debris obstructs a river, creating a lake that suddenly releases a surge of water downstream. Landslides can also block rivers in narrow gorges, causing a sudden collapse and increased water flow. Be cautious if you notice the water level dropping unexpectedly without an obvious reason.
Wow, these GLOFs and landslides sound incredibly unpredictable and dangerous. It's essential to be alert to any sudden changes in the river's flow.
Absolutely. Another hazard to be aware of is flash floods or blowouts on side creeks. These floods can wash debris into the river, creating new hazards. Western rivers that have experienced fires in their drainage areas are especially prone to rocks, mud, and logs being washed downstream, altering the river's conditions and creating new rapids.
So, even without natural hazards, man-made debris can be a challenge. I imagine it's crucial to navigate carefully, especially in rivers with remnants from mills, dams, and logging operations.
You're absolutely right.
Debris such as logs, industrial materials, and remnants from human activities can pose serious risks. Bridge pilings, for example, have caused instances of boats and rafts getting pinned due to the lack of upstream water cushion. It's essential to stay vigilant and navigate around such potential hazards.
Low-head dams and weirs also seem to require special attention. I've heard they can be quite dangerous.
Yes, low-head dams and weirs are notorious for causing drownings. They create perfect hydraulics that are difficult to see from upstream and almost impossible to escape without assistance. It's important to recognize the boil line, which marks the boundary between the backwash and downstream flow. Anything caught beyond the boil line will be pulled into the hydraulic. Rescuers must be aware of these hazards to prevent further accidents.
It's alarming to hear that even trained rescuers have fallen victim to these hydraulics below low-head dams. This emphasizes the need for proper education and awareness.
Absolutely. Education and preparation are vital in recognizing and understanding these hazards. We must know what to look for and how to navigate safely.
Lastly, you mentioned the dangers of big and continuous whitewater, particularly for someone out of a boat or raft. Breathing becomes difficult, and rescue efforts must be timed carefully. Swimming in such water can lead to flush drowning if the swimmer aspirates a significant amount of water. Additionally, long, cold swims can quickly induce hypothermia, compromising a swimmer's strength, judgment, and consciousness.
Exactly.
The combination of big, cold water and warm weather can be particularly hazardous.
Proper protective clothing and precautions are necessary to mitigate the risks.
These hazards are certainly eye-opening. It's clear that comprehensive preparation, knowledge, and appropriate safety measures are crucial for a safe whitewater adventure.
Adequate and properly functioning equipment is crucial for our safety.
It's essential to prepare our gear, such as patching boats, repairing life jackets and helmets, during the off-season rather than rushing the night before our first spring trip. Additionally, having the right equipment and ensuring it's with us is equally important.
I can see why proper equipment preparation is vital. It's important to have gear in good condition and readily available when we need it. What else should we consider during our preparation?
Beyond equipment, paddlers should also prepare mentally and physically.
It's essential to understand our own physical abilities and limitations.
Paddling requires a level of fitness and endurance, which can vary with the seasons.
Instead of pushing our limits on the first day out, it's better to warm up on easier rivers and gradually build up our skills. Regular fitness routines and stretching during the off-season can help prevent injuries and muscle soreness.
That makes sense. Taking time off the river to improve our paddling skills, such as practicing strokes, rolling, and participating in clinics, can also enhance our abilities in a controlled environment. Additionally, educating ourselves through books, magazine articles, and classes in rescue techniques, first aid, and CPR is crucial.
Absolutely, Mary.
Expanding our knowledge and skills off the river is as important as the practical experience gained on the water. It helps us make informed decisions and respond effectively in emergency situations.
Before we even hit the water, what should we consider during our pre-trip preparations?
Gathering information about the river and its surroundings is essential.
We need a thorough knowledge of the river, including alternative put-in and take-out locations, the length of the run, and estimated completion time. It's crucial to factor in extra time for potential delays, playing, and emergencies.
We should also be mindful of the shorter daylight hours in spring and fall.
Understanding the difficulty level of the river, the location of major rapids and hazards, and emergency evacuation access points is vital.
Knowing the nearest rescue squads, hospitals, and potential landowner issues is essential too.
Guidebooks and topographical maps can provide valuable information about the river and the surrounding area.
Screening participants for their paddling ability seems important too. How can we assess their skills if we haven't seen them paddle before?
It can be challenging, but discreetly asking questions about their understanding of risks, emergency procedures, and their experience on specific rivers can provide insights into their abilities. Understanding their paddling history and who they've paddled with can also give us an idea of their skill level.
Shuttles seem like a crucial aspect of trip organization. What should we consider in arranging them?
A well-organized shuttle is vital for a smooth trip.
Thinking ahead about meeting locations, finding drivers, safeguarding keys, avoiding trespassing on private property, and considering road conditions are all important factors.
A good map and ensuring the mechanical condition of shuttle vehicles are also key.
A poorly organized shuttle can compromise the safety of the trip if it significantly delays our time on the river and forces us to rush, bending safety rules.
It's essential to have a contingency plan as well, right?
Absolutely.
We should be prepared for situations such as high or low water levels, dam-controlled rivers with no release, or the need to explore alternative sections or nearby rivers of similar difficulty.
Gathering information on river levels and local weather conditions is crucial to avoid unnecessary risks.
Once we're on the water, what should we keep in mind?
Communication is key.
Before starting the trip, gather the group and discuss the length of the trip, the nature of the river, and compare notes on the weather and water temperature to determine appropriate attire.
Designate a leader and consider having lead and sweep boats.
In larger groups, buddy boats can stay together throughout the day. Note major rapids in the takeout location before starting, agree on times to keep the group moving, and avoid being caught out after dark. It's also important for someone to carry a first aid kit, a spare paddle, and a repair kit, and for everyone to know where these items are located.
These preparations seem comprehensive and essential for a safe and enjoyable whitewater adventure.
Absolutely, Mary. Proper preparation and attention to detail significantly contribute to our safety and overall experience on the river. Scouting is a crucial step in our preparation before tackling a rapid. It's especially important in unfamiliar or difficult rapids, but it's a good practice even if we've run the rapid before.
Scouting allows us to assess the conditions, identify potential hazards like strainers, and make informed decisions about our line.
When should we scout a rapid? How do we know when it's necessary?
A ledge or a big drop will often appear as a horizon line across the river.
We may hear the sound of rushing water or see mist and spray. Difficult rapids are often found in areas of geologic change, which we can spot by observing the shoreline. If the land contours suddenly drop, the boulders on shore have a staircase appearance, or the river narrows with rising banks, these are all indications that scouting is warranted.
If scouting is necessary, how should we approach it?
Some experienced paddlers can scout from their boats, eddy by eddy. However, it's often best to walk if possible. It's advisable to scout from both shores to gain different perspectives. You'd be surprised how the view changes. Scouting from river level is preferable because looking down on the river from above can flatten out the features and make things appear smaller than they actually are. To help define our route, we can choose markers such as specific boulders, waves, or landmarks on shore.
That makes sense. It's important to have a clear understanding of the rapid and plan our line accordingly. But what if something goes wrong?
Exactly. It's crucial to consider the consequences if things don't go as planned and have a contingency plan ready. We should be aware of the location of eddies and have a plan in case we end up swimming. Knowing which way to go and the proximity of the next rapid is essential. Always be prepared for unexpected scenarios and think through the what-if factor.
I understand the importance of scouting, but what about leadership? How does it come into play?
Leadership is often overlooked in paddling, as it's seen as an individualistic sport.
However, organization and leadership are vital, both for trip organization and in emergency situations. A good trip leader should have experience, river sense, good judgment, interpersonal skills, and be a skilled paddler.
They don't necessarily give orders unless it's an emergency, but they ensure that the group is well organized and make informed decisions.
So, a trip leader plays a significant role in ensuring a safe and enjoyable experience?
Absolutely.
A trip leader can effectively organize the group without appearing authoritarian, politely discourage unqualified paddlers from joining the trip, and keep an eye on the well-being of the group members. They act as a source of information and maintain a cool head in making critical decisions. A trip leader doesn't always have to be the strongest paddler, they need good organizational skills and the ability to coordinate the group.
It's important to have a trip leader who can provide guidance and create a safe environment. But how do we determine if someone is qualified to be part of the group?
Assessing the paddling ability of group members can be challenging, especially if we haven't seen them paddle before. Asking discreet questions about their understanding of risks, emergency procedures, and their past paddling experiences can provide insights. It's also helpful to inquire about the rivers they've paddled and at what water levels. Actions speak louder than words, so observing their paddling skills during practice rolls or braces can also give us a better understanding of their abilities.
That makes sense. It's important to have a reliable and experienced group of paddlers to ensure safety and a positive experience on the river.
Absolutely, Mary. Preparation, scouting, and leadership are all crucial elements in a successful and safe whitewater adventure. By being well prepared, informed, and organized, we can minimize risks and maximize our enjoyment on the river.